Putin is trying to court the MAGA GOP in the United States. In fact, one of the leaders of the MAGA GOP is in Moscow tonight. It's the man you see here with the MAGA leader, Donald Trump, Tucker Carlson, possibly there in Moscow to interview Putin, definitely there as a Putin supporting celebrity. As a human being, so many people look up to you. They rely on you. No one can imagine how hard that is. Do you do anything for yourself? Are you ever able to take a minute to read or to listen to music or something to sort of give yourself that a moment?
I have such moments, important, to be in silence, to be alone. Alone, how can I be alone? Alone I can be with music, it's true, or with a book. And early in the morning, when there are no sounds in...
No air raid sirens.
I'll be coming back to this,
nobody,
people.
I mean,
Just listen to how Russian state media is breathlessly celebrating his visit.
people, our staff, I mean, nobody is in my cabinet, nobody.
Yeah.
I can just read, think, and the music helps, really.
Yeah. What music do you like?
Oh, I like AC/DC and Ukrainian music. Of course, I like Ukrainian music a lot because Ukrainian, that's native language. That's why you understand not only music, you understand the words and etc. AC/DC, I don't understand all the words because of...
But you like the music. Look at them talking about him like a celebrity. Everything he does on camera, breathlessly repeated.
Yeah, I like energy of AC/DC. I like Eric Clapton, a lot of Guns N' Roses. Maybe it's too old music for...
I understand. We're the same. We're the same.
I love it. No, it's important to have sometimes at 6, 7 in the morning some trainings.
Workout.
Yes, workouts. Or to do something with music, with such music, which gives you energy for all the day.
Now I'm in the screen. All right. Good evening, people. I think we found a new Vomitous intro, a new Vomitous character, although we'll never play as much Aaron Burnett as we play of Justin Trudeau. Vomit. Pure, unadulterated, wretchy vomit. If things get any cheesier, it's going to be like toe cheese. It's going to be Gargonzola. Oh my gosh. I want to play that again and just highlight a few key lip licking sequences in that. I'm doing a bit of a longer intro video as people trickle in because I think I may be starting the show too early. Good evening, everybody. We've got a show and a half tonight. It might actually be 2 shows in one. It's amazing. I was just on Alex Jones since 5:30 because when I get the call on a Sunday, can you pop on and talk about Big Fanny Willis and Nipple Judge Engeron? I'm like, I'm in the car. I'll be back in 15 minutes in front of my computer. Oh, as everybody trickles in to watch another evening of Sunday Night Law with Viva and Barnes, let's go back to this wonderful work of monstrosity. Why are we playing this one? I've got a bunch of videos to play as the intro, depending on how I feel. We're going to talk about some Russia-Ukraine stuff tonight, particularly the death of Navalny in a Russian prison in the Arctic or something. I didn't know where it was, but I had to bring this up because I saw this clip of an interview with Aaron Burnett and Volodymyr Zelensky. I swear to you, I thought it was CGI. Like I thought it was a fake. I thought it was fake video. So before I reacted and went over the over the top with my reaction, I had to go find the source video and watch it. These are the propagandist hacks who are accusing Tucker Carlson of having given it's Vladimir Putin. Everybody's Vladimir here. Putin a softball interview. This was her interviewing Zelensky, but
no, it is unclear
this is what
if
she
an
said
interview
about Tucker
between
Carlson.
Putin and Carlson will take place. But if it's Donald Trump,
okay, here.
Tucker Carlson, possibly there in Moscow to interview Putin, definitely there as a Putin supporting celebrity. As a human being,
supporting celebrity.
So many people look up to you.
First of all, what the hell is she doing with her hands?
No one can imagine how hard that is.
People look up to you.
Do you do anything for yourself? Are you ever able to take a minute to...
Do you need a back massage?
To read or to listen to music or something to sort of give yourself that a moment.
I have such moments, important, to be in silence. To be
Look at
alone.
her. Pay attention
Alone,
only to
how
Aaron
can
Burnett.
I be alone? Alone, I can be with music, it's true, or with a book. And early in the morning,
Oh, Mr. Zelensky, you're making my CNN propagandist heart melt. Let me just get to the lip smacking. The MAGA Republicans thing is just never going to get old with these hacks repeating it over and over again. Oh, there's one. Look at this.
native language, that's why you understand not only music, you understand the words and etc. AC/DC, I don't understand all the words because of but
like the music. Look at them talking about him like a celebrity. Everything he does on
it's
camera,
confession
breathlessly
through
repeated.
projection.
Yeah, I like
Breathlessly
the
repeated.
energy of AC/DC. I like Eric Clapton, a lot of Guns N' Roses. Maybe it's too old the music for.
I understand. We're the
We
same.
understand.
We're the same. Hey, Vladimir, I got Eric Clapton and AC/DC back at the hotel. It's funny you should mention it. You want to come and we'll put on an old 8-track and maybe sip some. Oh my goodness, nauseating, repulsive and nauseating. But the biggest takeaway from all of that, and we're going to come to this theme over and over again tonight and in the future as we have in the past, confession through projection. Accuse your enemies of doing what you are doing so as to create confusion. These propagandist MSM hacks are accusing Tucker Carlson of giving softball fawning celebrity type interviews to Vladimir Putin. What kind of music do you like? People look up to you. This is her hard-hitting question. Life is hard. People look up to you. What do you like to do to unwind? Oh, okay, we're done. That was the fun intro. Now, for those of you who are new to the channel, last week was a hell of a week. So I think there might be a few people new to the channel. We hit 400,000 subs on Rumble. For those of you who are new to the channel, Viva Frei. That's not my real name. My name is not Viva. It's David Freiheit. Freiheit means freedom in German. David biblically means, oh shoot, what does it mean? Beloved is what it means in Hebrew or Aramaic or whatever the original language was. So beloved freedom. It's a fortunate last name. I've always liked my last name. We start on YouTube, Rumble, and vivabarneslaw.locals.com. And then we go to Rumble and we end on what I call CommieTube these days. Rumble stream is not up. That's not true. I'm watching it right now. Hold on. I see it on Rumble. Refresh your screen if it's not up on Rumble, unless you're trolling. I don't think you're trolling the good doctor. Doctors, if you're a good doctor, you're not trolling. I'm joking, but refresh it. We're live on Rumble. Let me see here. We're live on vivabarneslaw.locals.com. So we start on YouTube, Rumble, vivabarneslaw.locals.com. About half an hour in, we end on censorship, commie, narrative controlling tube, YouTube. Head over to Rumble. And then we end on Rumble and we go to the after party at vivabarneslaw.locals.com where we answer tipped questions of $5 or more. Okay, now, little housekeeping, as we say in the industry. You may have noticed that this stream says contains paid promotion because it does, and it is our beloved sponsor, fieldofgreens.com. How many vegetables did I eat today? You don't want to know. I have an obsessive compulsive disorder. I want to eat things, but I don't want the calories of eating. So arugula is very low in calorie, high in fiber, high in nutrients. I ate an entire container of arugula today. You're supposed to have between 5 and 7 servings of raw fruits and vegetables daily. And suffice to say, most people don't. Most people have terrible, bad, unhealthy habits, sucking down those disgusting chemical-filled low-cal drinks, diet drinks, or the sugar-filled energy drinks. Take a spoonful of this twice a day. 1 spoonful of desiccated greens. It's a food. It's not a supplement. It's not an extract. You stir it in water. It looks like swamp water, as I say, which is the containing of the nutrients of life. It tastes great. 1 spoonful is 1 servings of of fruits and vegetables with all of the antioxidants, all the good stuff. You do that twice a day. You replace a bad habit with a healthy habit, and you get 2 servings of vegetables a day, fruits and vegetables, just from that. I would advise, in general, exercise and eat healthy. But if you can't, if you're traveling, whatever, fieldofgreens.com, desiccated fruits and vegetables. It's delicious. It's healthy. Go to the website. It will take you to Brickhouse Nutrition, fieldofgreens.com. If you put in promo code VIVA, you get 15% off your first order and free rush handling. Oh, yes, and look at this. Would you look at that, people? It's on my desk because I actually love the way it smells. And that's it. Thank you. The link, hold on. I have to have put the link in the description. I did. Okay. Whew. Whew. Got nervous for a second. Fieldofgreens.com, promo code Viva, 15% off your first order. Get healthy, stay healthy, and be healthy, physically and psychologically. Now, until Barnes gets in here, I've got more video on the backdrop. Oh my goodness, I cannot get over the week we had last week. I'll play the good stuff. Which one do we want to do? The moment. Oh, we're going to play this one because I don't want to play it when Barnes gets here. I know everybody watching tonight has seen it. And I was going to play my Dear Sister remix, but I don't want this entire stream getting copy claimed by copyright pirates on YouTube. So I'm going to play my unedited version. We're going to talk about the Fani Willis, Nathan Wade evidentiary hearing. But I'm just going to show you the moment a man realizes he is about to get stabbed in the back, metaphorically speaking, repeatedly, then in the front, then disemboweled for the world to see. This man, for those of you who don't know who he is, Terrence Bradley, former business partner of Nathan Wade, who's boning Fani Willis, former family lawyer of Nathan Wade, although I think it was in name only. I think Nathan Wade was drafting the proceedings and using Terrence Bradley's letterhead to make it look like he was, effectively being represented by counsel. This man invoked privilege to protect Nathan Wade for the better part of 2 days. And then Anna Cross, Fani Willis's counsel, in cross-examination says, yep, you've served your purpose. Now it's time for a public judicial execution. Listen to this.
And while you didn't socialize together frequently, you considered yourself a friend of Mr. Wade at that time?
Yes, we were friends at that time, yes.
All right. You are no longer business partners.
That is correct.
You are no longer friends.
What you say, dear sister? This is the moment the shots rang out. And when I made my Dear Sister edit, I deliberately chose not to include the sound of a gunshot because I don't want anyone misconstruing deliberately or accidentally anything of violence. But this is the moment. They reached into his chest and ripped his heart out. Look at that face. You're no longer his business partner, no longer his friend, and look at his face.
Friends at that time, yes.
All right. You are no longer business partners.
That is correct.
You are no longer friends.
Oh, what are you doing, man? What are you doing, Anna? You hear his heart
I
break.
mean, if he's saying that we're not friends, then
I
yeah.
want to know what you think, Mr. Bradley. Do you consider yourself a friend of Mr. Wade?
I hear his heart breaking.
I would consider.
It goes to potential bias. Ms. Cross.
Would I consider myself a friend of Mr. Wade? I would.
I thought I did.
And while you didn't socialize together.
Oh, and by the way, for those of you who missed the trial, right after that point, they went ahead and destroyed Terrence Bradley's life by bringing up the circumstances under which he left the partnership with Nathan Wade and his other partner there, Campbell, because of alleged improper sexual conduct that they called assault. It was. We're going to go over the trial when Barnes gets here, but so that we don't have to watch the videos, we'll watch them now. And I got another one. Which one is this? Oh, this was when Fani Willis took the stand. Oh my goodness! Look at this crazy woman. Just first of all, I mean, just look at her face right now, and I'm not projecting. Is that me right there? That's me right there. I'm not projecting. I'm just going to point it out. She's got bags under the eyes, like she's been sobbing, like she hasn't slept in days. There were rumors that her dress was on backwards. It doesn't look like it was. It just looks like it wasn't fitting properly because it was hastily thrown on so that she can barge down to the court like a rabid animal to get on the stand. She gets on the stand, and this comes out.
So your office objected to us getting Delta records for flights that you may have taken with Mr. Wade.
Well, no, look. I object to you getting records. You've been intrusive into people's personal lives.
Intrusive into people's personal
lives. You think
lives.
I'm on trial. These people are on trial for trying to steal an election in 2020.
Oh.
I'm not
These people? What do you mean, these people?
on
my
trial,
goodness.
no matter how hard you try to put me
Oh
on
my
trial.
goodness.
So my question
Look at that.
was,
Is she a psychopath?
Do you
That
have any
it just
I object to you getting any personal records.
keep
of
going,
mine.
Fanny.
We're not dealing with privilege through.
Look at the
a-
way Keep going, she's sitting in Fanny. front of a judge.
No, I'm not dealing with privilege. What we had offered to put them in
This is-
camera
this
for
is
the
the-
court to review.
the
and
most
I just wanna know
disastrous
if
thing I've ever
she has
seen.
any
That's not
problem.
something you deal with a witness.
And I've seen a bird get stepped on. literally, by the way. For anybody who's wondering, I was at Strawberry Girls in Florida, and they have a little display with a bunch of parakeets inside, and you go through these flapping doors, and the birds come and they eat out of your hand. And I saw a woman just not looking where she was walking, back up and step on a little yellow parakeet. And then it starts wobbling around. I don't want to depress people. Then I pick it up, and it dies in my hand. I saw that. This was more disastrous than that. Oh my goodness. So that was another one of the highlights. And just to get to one of the other trials that we're going to be talking about tonight, so I don't have to play the clip. Do you all remember who Michael Cohen is? Perjurer, overall scumbag. He gave a 15-minute or 12-minute interview. It was MSNBC because, you know, there's only one news outlet out there, propagandist hack of an outlet that is out there towing the line for these outrageous, outlandish court rulings, political persecutions. MSNBC is the last one. MSNBC, you know, remember the one that pursued Russiagate for 3 years. MSNBC, the one that told you, get the jab and it stops the virus. You're protected. You can't get it. Lie, lies, and lies. Well, they've got their star witness now who's reveling in the New York atrocity of judicial abuse. And after 10 minutes, and you read the comments in the comment section, you think you're taking crazy pills, is what you think. People are like, oh, Michael Cohen really has turned his life around. Oh, he's the hero that we didn't know that we needed. People are now singing the praises of Michael Cohen, this grubby criminal of a lawyer, although that might be redundant. Hey, he's a hero now. And he gives a 10 minutes of interview. Oh, this trial, I was telling the truth all along. Trump is a criminal. Listen to what he says of Donald Trump at the end of this interview.
You have Donald Trump, I'm not sure if you saw already, texting his supporters, fundraising off of this. It is a message we have heard before that he is being victimized. That is not particularly surprising. I guess my question to you is, what do you say to the folks who are still sending in their $5 or $10 to those text message appeals?
It's time to wake up, stupid. Right? This isn't a joke. This is a man who has himself come forward and stated that he intends to rewrite the Constitution.
Excuse me. Footnote, please. Video clip. Where was that? You lying scumbag of a filthy lawyer, Michael? Where was that? Where did he say he's gonna really rewrite the Constitution? But wait, there's more.
That he wants to destroy our tripartite system of justice.
That he wants to destroy our tripartite system of justice. You mean like what Joe Biden is doing right now in real time? Please, Michael Cohen, with your infinite wisdom and good judgment, go on and tell us what else he wants to do.
He wants to get rid of the judiciary and the legislature.
Oh, really? He wants to get rid of the judiciary and the legislature. Oh, please, go on. Does he want to kill anybody?
He wants to confer all power to himself, to the executive branch, that he's going to use the military SEAL Team 6 to go after critics. He wants to execute General Mark Milley.
He wants to execute General. May I get the footnote on that one, Michael Cohen?
Chief of Staff. Is this who you want to support? You have nothing better to do with your money? Give it to
me. Give it to me. I need some money. I'm down on my luck.
Give it to charity. But he's a billionaire. He doesn't need your charity.
He's a billionaire.
You have
on the one
Trump.
I mean, in the earlier part of the interview, he says how Trump is going to go bankrupt because of these decisions. He's got real problem. He's not worth all of that money. It's an amazing thing. Trump lied about his assets. He's not worth the billions. This is going to bankrupt him. But don't give him money. He's a billionaire because he wants to rewrite the Constitution. Bullshit. Because he wants to assassinate General Milley.
I'm not sure if you saw.
I want to refresh my memory. What was I about to say about
already texting his supporters?
I'm going to play this again for
fundraising
a reason.
off of this. It is a message we have heard before that he is being victimized. That is not particularly surprising. I guess my question to you is
the projection. That's what I want to say.
What do you say to the folks who are still sending in their $5 or $10?
Can you imagine being so intimidated? You got to get on MSNBC and try to convince people not to give their $5 or $10 because you want to bankrupt in all respects your political adversary. Time to wake up, stupid.
To those text messages.
He's been waiting for this moment his entire life.
It's time to wake up, stupid.
Did you just call me stupid? You son of a.
This isn't a joke. This is a man who has himself come forward and stated that he intends to rewrite the Constitution,
Okay, I can't
that
get on
he
that
wants
stupidity.
to destroy our tripartite system of justice.
Destroy the tripartite system of justice. Who might be guilty of doing that now? Just out of curiosity.
He wants to get rid of the judiciary and the legislature.
Who is it now that it basically is not listening to the decisions of the Supreme Court? Who? I'm just wondering.
He wants to confer all power to himself,
He wants to confer all power to himself.
to the executive branch, that he's going to use the military SEAL Team 6 to go after critics. He wants to execute.
I can't deal with that crap anymore. On the same day, by the way, that we're discovering that, the Obama was spying on Trump. Everything they accuse their adversaries of doing is that which they are doing themselves. All right, now hold on. Let me just make sure that Barnes, I know I sent Barnes the link until he gets here. Let me see what's going on here. We got, okay, good. I got the rants open here. Let's do some rants before Barnes gets in the house. We'll do some super chats and some rants. Cheryl Gage says, loved your reaction when you realized that Fanny just walked in and was going to take the stand. Dude, she did it in defiance of legal advice. They were arguing to quash her subpoena as she comes in, frazzled, unhinged, and says, I'm taking the stand. Give me these documents. You give me this, give me this, give me this. Sit down in a chair in front of a judge. You can approach. Oh, it was wild. It was wild. Does Amos Miller offer a desiccated vegetable powder? How does Field of Greens feel about it? Does he? I don't know if he does. Tony Savage? All that I would know is we're going to support Amos Miller and the war on the Amish in general. We're going to battle it as well. Piano Dean says, quote, in Wade's mind, end quote, his marriage was over, could they get his tax returns to see if he checked married filing jointly in subsequent years? It's the sucking and blowing of political hypocrisy. Yeah, for the purposes of boning people, he was divorced in his mind. The marriage was irreparably broken. For the purposes of taxes, of course, he's going to get all those benefits. For the purposes of income, he's going to hide his assets from his wife because it's irretrievably broken. She's not entitled to the fruits of my hard labor. But for the purposes of marriage, I'm going to let Jocelyn Wade raise the children. We'll get to it. Then we got Oliver Ruff. I hope you didn't mean to put in a comment there, but thank you very much for that. And let's get to we got some, see what I can do here. Look at this. Boom shakalaka. On Rumble, where we're over 13,000 live right now. That's Tyler Perry. Medea goes to court. I don't know who that is. That's from Primus Fan 92. We Laxton 3721 says Trump was found liable by 40-year-old allegations made by one woman. Fanny sure as hell should be throttled by the testimony of one woman 5 years ago. Well, I mean, I don't want to. I wouldn't tolerate an injustice just because it's against my political adversary. The Trump, 40 years old. Well, I think it might have been more like 30 years old. And E. Jean Carroll is batshit crazy. No question about it. All right, we got a couple more here, and then we're going to pull in the Barnes. Viva, a question for you in Barnes. JP Morgan, State Street, and BlackRock pulling $9 trillion of funds from Climate Action 100, uncovered under the radar. We'll actually talk about that. Let me see if I can screen grab that. Simple Mana says, hey Viva, any chance you can shout out my GoFundMe to help my mother? Any help is appreciated. I'm very neurotic about, there's a lot of scammery out there, and I'm not saying this is or is not. I do not endorse anything until I know that I can endorse it. I'm reading the super chat, Simply Mana. Everybody donate, do your due diligence before you donate. Knowing nothing about the GoFundMe, I only promote a GoFundMe once I'm confident that it's legit, and typically after I've donated it to myself, so that nobody can accuse me of, whatever. And then we got, please, everyone must watch and share with every loved one the Tucker Mike Benz interview. Mike, make every Democrat see it, understand they're being programmed. That's from Crawley RN. And then we got T1990. Did you guys see the most recent reporting on the Russia hoax by Matt Taibbi and Mike Schellenberger? No, I didn't. All right, people. Barnes is in the house. Let's bring him on. He's wearing a bow tie. I don't know why. Robert, sir, how goes the battle?
Good.
May I ask, what's up with the bow tie? I was watching The Young Sheldon today, and I think he wears a bow tie in that show.
Yeah, he does often. Yeah, I've only seen a little bits of that. The same with the what was the title of the original show?
Wonder Years is what I thought it made me think of. Is that what they're playing on?
No. Young Sheldon is that, the older one is that nerd show that was real popular.
Oh, Malcolm in the Middle?
Nope.
I don't know what I'm talking about.
Another one called I thought it was The Big Something. Maybe somebody in the chat will know.
Not the Big Bang Theory?
Yeah, maybe
that might be the...
Yeah.
Oh, that makes sense That makes sense, actually.
Yeah, Big Bang Theory. That's it.
Okay, I was just looking at that show. That show was very much reminiscent of the Wonder Years, but just nowhere near as good. Everybody should watch the Wonder Years. Barnes, how goes the battle?
Yeah, good. The oh, that reminds me, I need to look something up. But go ahead.
Okay, now I was going to say, what's the book behind you? Because that one is not one that I've ever seen before. I can make it out.
It's John le Carré's The Tailor of Panama, which is apropos, particularly in the context of some of the Spygate stories that broke this week.
Yeah, Robert, we're living through, it's either the end of times or the beginning of times. Alex Jones is optimistic, so that causes me to be optimistic. But man, what a week we had. So I'll do the menu. I'll just tell everybody what's coming up. I've never done it before, actually. And I don't think I'm going to do it as good as you, Robert, but I'll try. We've got Big Fanny, then the New York verdict with Judge Engeron, RFK censorship win, which I realize I have not done my homework on. Navalny death, we're going to talk about this one for a while. SCOTUS, sovereign immunity, whistleblower protections when convenient and not when not. Amos Miller objections, you're going to talk about the latest with Amos Miller and what the status is of everything there. Social media crisis. Crazy French law. On speech about the vaccines, we'll get to that. Oh, lordy. 2020 election study, illegal search. That was a funny one also. And then Ancestry sold the DNA results. This is why I don't do the Ancestry stuff. I don't trust them. And if they tell me that I'm susceptible of certain diseases, I'm convinced that it's going to have an impact on disclosure to insurance companies, and it will cost me in the long run. What do we start with, Robert?
The most popular one was either the Trump New York verdict or Big Fanny. Then otherwise, the board was interested in SCOTUS and the Amos Miller objections. And then they raised a few of their own questions about the Spygate news information that came out this week, as well as the Tucker's interview of Benz and the 2020 election study by the Heartland Institute that was put out this past week. And then also the George Soros's prosecutor winning in the 11th Circuit against DeSantis. So those will be a couple of added topics. Plus, in the after party, we'll be answering all the $5 tips or more at vivabarneslaw.locals.com and proceed accordingly. But yeah, the top topic was the one that you covered much of the week, Big Fanny.
Well, okay. Before we get there, let's do one on YouTube, and then we're gonna kick YouTube. The Navalny. I don't know what the level of interest in that was, but I'm particularly interested in it because I know what I can piece together from my cursory internet searches. I don't know who to believe in this. All that I know, and I put out a vlog before today, Navalny dies in jail. I mean, apparently he was in some Arctic detention center, like he disappeared from the Russian prison center and was pulled up to the Arctic. Died, was it a clot or was it a heart attack?
We don't know the details as yet. I mean,
and
it had already been reported that his health was in poor shape over the past 6 months or so.
So he's arrested, he's detained, he's put in jail on embezzlement, bribery, extremism charges. The bottom line is I need you to tell us who Navalny is, because I don't know who he is from a hole in the wall. I don't trust any government out there, anywhere, period. Not Putin, not Zelensky, not Trudeau, not Biden. So I don't know if Navalny's a bad dude, a bad player, a CIA asset like many people say he is. All that I know is I know that Biden is bad. And so when Biden is coming out milking this for political profit, I say, where were you, A, when Gonzalo Lira suffered a very similar fate? And B, dude, did the CIA do this so that you can then use it as a pretext to force through the House that border bill turned a foreign aid bill that other than this, the bipartisan rhinos in the Senate liked, nobody likes? It's very convenient. There could be a hush-hush here. But are you able to summarize who Navalny is? Is he a good guy, a bad guy, or are they all bad guys in this?
So Navalny is kind of he was the son of a factory operator from sort of the Belarus, Ukraine, Russian region, who grew up as became a lawyer in the late 90s. So he came into Russian economics and politics at the peak of when everybody was using the new Russian system to rip off the Russian people. So a lot of these guys were engaged in legally questionable behavior. If you grew up during that sort of chaotic time period when Russia's almost entire economy collapsed, culture collapsed, crime exploded, its military was busy selling nuclear submarines to Colombian drug cartels. You had multiple wars and conflicts in Chechnya and other parts of the country. So you had basically the entire country kind of collapsed. And if you were a young professional during that time frame, you saw politics as a money-making opportunity. And so it appears, and a lot of them engaged in what was called entrepreneurial behavior that often was what would be called by most people tax evasion, embezzlement, bribery, thievery of all kinds. But it was kind of ordinary course at the time. If you were in the 90s, that's how you made your money. That's how a certain Konstantin Kissin's father apparently made a lot of money himself. I think he now denies that he was the mini oligarch and one of the first people to really capitalize on that version of Russia, but that at least was the story at the time. So that was the world that Navalny was introduced into. Politics as a tool to get rich, to be a full-scale, wholesale approved grifter. Often connected to the new oligarchs, connected to Russian organized crime, connected to corrupt government actors, connected to Western think tanks, all kind of complicit. From there, in the early 2000s, Putin begins to stabilize the country. That's the real source of his popularity. It's not, dictatorship or anything we like to pretend in the West. He's legitimately the most popular leader over the last quarter century, because of what the outcomes occurred under his governance. Radical reduction in poverty, radical reduction in crime, radical improvement in self-confidence in the military being stabilized and their security being stabilized and getting peace deals so they're not under constant threat of terrorism or global conflict in Chechnya and elsewhere. And so that leads to the next stage. How do you now make money in politics? And if you weren't going to be part of the Putin regime, and Navalny first flirted with both sides of the extremes that were the most popular alternatives to Putin. Those were the ultra nationalists in Russia, often would be labeled far right, very anti-immigrant, frequently, opposed to various forms of immigration, very often, more radical on issues of Chechnya, often blended into sort of anti-Islamic belief structures. Often had racial undertones or sometimes overt. And then on the other side of the lead opposition to Putin was the communists. I mean, there was a resurgence of the Communist Party's popularity, especially in the late 90s, because of the collapse. You had 40% of seniors in poverty. You had homelessness. You had crime. You had alcoholism. I mean, you had problems that many ordinary Russians had not experienced at that scale. And so, there's a lot of criticisms of the communist regime, but one of them wasn't that crime was rampant. For example, it was hard to commit crime because everybody knew if you did it, because everybody was equally broke, and so forth. The criminals were the bureaucrats, the actual government employees. Those are the criminals. But that changed in the 90s. And he flirted with them too, Navalny. Then, the internet came to age, and Navalny tapped that and became one of the first online bloggers and used YouTube channels and ran for the mayor of Moscow. Got a little bit of support and popularity. But basically, he was kind of like a Lyndon LaRouche type figure, except not politically consistent. Very Russian during this time frame, and that their politics changed depending on the week, the month, the day, or the year. But he was all over the place until after he has a little bit of surprise success as a blogger turned Moscow mayoral candidate, and Moscow has its own Moscow Mafia, as it's called. Not really organized crime as it is a political machine that's actually independent of and separate from Putin. These people were connected to Hunter Biden and other people, for example. They have their own corrupt regime there. He all of a sudden gets an invite to a new institute set up at Yale University, the Yale World Fellows Program. The Yale World Fellows Program was being run by the wife of Strobe Talbot. This was, in fact, it was based entirely on the Clintons' World Fellows Program that they had established while they were in the White House. and they use Yale to establish it, and they invite a lot of people, supposedly, to promote global peace and prosperity and what have you. They would tend to show up with deep state aligned groups all around the world, whether Venezuela, Colombia, Africa, Asia. And the big one they picked from Russia was Navalny, of all people. And that's from that point forward, all of a sudden his politics changed. He went from being, uber right wing and ultra nationalist, and it was time to take back Belarus and Ukraine and everything else in the Russian Empire, to being opposed to any conflict in Ukraine. He went from being, ultra right wing on his cultural viewpoints to saying we needed to support gay marriage. And he was personally a big supporter of BLM, which I can tell you does not have huge support in Russia. And he became kind of the fake candidate of the West. The West pretended he was the big pot. The reason why I have Taylor of Panama behind me is it's like the silent opposition portrayed in Taylor of Panama, or the secret organization in Our Man in Havana by Graham Greene, both a book and a film. It was completely fake by the West. Navalny never had more than 2% support at his peak in Russia. There was no mass support for Navalny. He was not a mass leader. Nobody cared about him in Russia. Putin didn't care about him until he showed up as a Yale Global Fellow. And then he was like, what's going on here? What are they trying to use this fellow for? What's he up to? His campaign manager was caught on tape trying to pitch the West, hey, give us $20 million and we'll overthrow the government for you. Now, what happened is he had always been involved in embezzlement schemes. He, his brother, other people. But most of those schemes were not criminally prosecuted very aggressively. What happened, in fact, but after he shows up as a Yale fellow, all of a sudden the Russian government has a little more interest in him, and they do prosecute him for those old embezzlement schemes. I mean, he had like a half dozen ones. Every time he turned around, he was involved in some new embezzlement scheme. But that's how you made money in Russia during that time frame. The grifting was a way of life. It was a professional occupational path. Navalny called it just good entrepreneurial work. That's how they defined it there in Russia. It's kind of like what the Africans learned from colonial government, that bribery was just a way of, that's what good government equaled, because they witnessed it in live time. So, but he was put on probation, suspended sentences, but he kept getting into trouble over and over again. Now, the other thing he did is he used his new YouTube channel. So he was one of the first people in Russia to, for being an online blogger, also one of the first people to use YouTube in a particularly effective manner.
Apparently, he had 6 million followers at one point on his channel.
Oh, exactly. Boosted big. Now, part of that was because he was a Western back guy. The West was backing him to support him with this idea that he would be the next president. They really convinced themselves. I think some were the smarter ones knew they were lying. Your Kissingers of the world knew this guy was an unpopular version of Lyndon LaRouche. But the delusional ones convinced themselves that, it's like in Taylor of Panama, where the general says, gentlemen, there's a star missing from our flag. Talking about, waging war on Panama to add star number 51. There were some people like that in the West that really convinced your Condoleezza Rices of the world, some others, convinced themselves he was this deeply popular leader. He never had any popularity ever in Russia. But he had global, a lot of the 6 million weren't Russians. But what he did a good job of was, in his grifter space, he became a guy who you could pay him to rat out your enemies. So if you had an enemy within the government or an enemy within the Russian economic structure, you would go to Navalny, feed him a bunch of dirt about your opponent, and rat him out. Now, he got into trouble for this because he did no due diligence on any investigation he reported. So he got successfully sued for defamation, for libel, for other conspiracies, because he couldn't back up what he claimed. But he developed this sort of gadfly, ne'er-do-well, protest outsider challenger within, particularly the younger population within Russia that was big in social media, kind of liked him. But that was the extent of it. He had no popular appeal beyond it. And then once he was like doing pro-BLM stuff, pro-gay marriage stuff, pro-Ukraine stuff, he lost all appeal entirely. So, but the West convinced themselves that they could stage a coup, that they would overthrow Putin, and they would put Navalny in. And so he goes through this very peculiar thing where he's on a plane and supposedly he's poisoned. And so he has to go to Germany to get treatment.
poisoned with, like, they said, Soviet era radioactive material.
Yeah,
Like,
they keep saying it's this incredibly powerful poison that manages to never kill anyone. Right. So it's like if Putin wanted you dead, yeah, you'd be dead.
well, we saw it with Poroshenko. I mean, it'll happen if Putin wants it.
Oh yeah, of course. So Putin only cared about this guy to the degree he was a nuisance tied to the West that the West wanted to utilize him for. Beyond that, he was very insignificant in Putin's world, and in the ordinary Russian could care less about him. But so he uses this to generate lots of coverage in the West. He goes to Germany. Oh my God, the Putin tried to kill him. He's the next great leader. And remember, this is when all the West media was saying Putin's about to be overthrown. Putin's has health problems. But, Ukraine is a disaster. So they really had convinced themselves. Some people in the West, like Taylor of Panama, really convinced themselves Navalny was the next president of Russia. There was zero chance of that ever occurring. Zero. So he stages his little event. They claim that Putin poisoned him. But they won't allow an independent. Russia's like, let's do an independent investigation. Let's have multiple countries involved and see what happened. Oh no, Germany. We can't do that, Germany. No. It's all fake. So dude goes back to Russia now, but of course because he fled to Germany and staged this whole nonsense, he's violated
terms of parole or something.
Yeah, again, this guy was given like 3 suspended sentences. Right? I mean, he got convicted again and again and again and again for multiple crimes. The Western excuse was always, oh, this is politically motivated, etc. They couldn't factually disprove any of the claims. It was quite clear the guy did commit the bribery and embezzlement. Again, his defense is, hey, everybody was doing it in Russia. That's how you made your money. But so he goes back, and now because they were clearly Putin sees they're trying to use Navalny to stage a coup, he's like, okay, maybe it's time that our Russian justice system apply a little bit of old school justice. And so they sentence him to prison.
So let me stop you there. Why does he go back? Does he go back thinking that he actually stands a political chance of...
Either the West, he's convinced one, he's doing his job. This is whose new line of money is. He was already in trouble because he had already grifted a bunch of money from his parties in Russia that apparently stole a lot of money from his donors and contributors. Again, that's what the guy did. That's who he was. He was, a grifter on steroids. Not a half bad one, But the new deal with the West was he needed to go back so they could stage a coup. I don't know whether he ever really believed. He might have been delusional enough to think he was the next president of Russia. You got the CIA behind you. You got the MI6 behind you. You got German intelligence behind you. They're telling you you're going to be a hero. CNN saying you're going to be the next thing. Da, 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 da. So maybe he really believed it. And that's where, Putin was just a reminder to everybody, well, maybe it's time for a little Russian justice. See how you like those winters in Siberia. Next time you think the CIA is going to run our country. And so that's what happened. While he was in jail, he got his health deteriorated. Now, I find the timing of his death doesn't benefit Russia. The timing of his death benefits the West. That's where a lot of people there was one person who said, I didn't think the CIA took him out until Biden made a big deal about being taken out.
Robert, I was watching Biden's presser and the thought hadn't entered my head and I felt stupid. But then he's like, now's the time. Literally, people, history is watching, and now let me milk it.
They can't get a vote. They can't get Ukrainian money passed. They can't get the Patriot Act restored. And first they say Putin's got space nukes. He's going to put nukes up in space. That was their first line of excuse. And now the new one is, oh, look, he killed the great Navalny, the great civil rights leader. This is literally our man in Havana, Taylor of Panama, written to life. And the number of people who buy it is extraordinary. Amnesty International got in trouble last year when they were promoting him. And people are like, well, let me give you some of Navalny's quotes over the years. It's him referring to certain groups as cockroaches who need to be stepped on. And Amnesty was like, we missed that one part of the memorandum. The guy's a complete fake. He makes us look like such a joke to the Russian audience. It's like, we never liked, this would literally be like saying Lyndon LaRouche was the most popular man in America and been stolen his ability to be president. And Americans would be like, what in the heck are you talking about?
I don't know how many Americans would know I Googled who Lyndon LaRouche was in the meantime, but I'll say analogously might be Kamala Harris, told she's going to be the president and has it stolen from her. So not off the table in terms of thought experiments that intelligence said he's more useful dead than alive at this point.
Oh, yes. Yes.
Huh. Good. Robert, I think I actually came up with that thought before talking to you, so I feel smarter as a result. And the political exploitation of his death is just, it's over the top. They're parading Biden out again for a press conference where he, again, looks like a demented, senile buffoon.
And can you imagine this administration and the people that are the people who are wanting more money to go to Ukraine, which actually did kill someone for pure speech grounds? I mean, and not only that, an American citizen. Navalny was never an American citizen. Gonzalo Lira was. Gonzalo Lira, there was no allegations of corruption involving Gonzalo Lira ever. Gonzalo Lira was accused of being pro-Russia. That's it, of his speech and his investigative work, and was basically summarily executed by the Ukrainian military and police. And yet we're going to send more money to them in the name of Navalny? I mean, while at the same time, Ben Shapiro, just go to Israel or someplace. You're not a real American. You're not loyal to America. Quit pretending you are. Him out there saying that Navalny's case is much worse than anything in America. No American has been denied bail. Well, where have you been living the last 3 years? People who have committed suicide or are dead, January 6th defendants, because they were denied bail, put in solitary confinement for 300 plus days. Navarro is going to jail right now because he was being denied bail. Ben Shapiro is asleep at the wheel because he cares more about foreign countries than he does about America. Don't call it the Daily Wire. Call it the Israeli Wire. Call it the Deep State Wire. Don't call it the Daily American Wire, because you're not really American and you don't care about America. And, the fakes and phonies and frauds like this guy and these other people defending and excusing and saying, look at how horrendous the Navalny case is, aside from what a fraud that is, are the same people who have ignored what's happening to Trump, ignored what's happening in January 6th, ignored what happened to Gonzalo Lira.
Yep. Someone in the chat, I was going to read it, says, why do I care about Navalny? We've got January 6ers here, and we've got the weaponization of the political judiciary system here. And I made the point in the vlog earlier today, which I'll post the link to in a bit. That fantastic, Robert. I mean, that's like absorbing knowledge, and I'm going to go rewatch this, and everybody can now have a better understanding of what's going on to confirm their suspicions, or at least awaken to what's going on. All right, now
the real political abuse is what we're seeing to Trump in New York.
Well,
what we're seeing in Atlanta, what we're seeing with Jack Smith, what we continue to see with January 6 cases. That's the only comparable example in the contemporary era is what they've done to the leader in Pakistan, who just won an election, even though they put him in jail, who was completely targeted for political reasons and totally bogus. But it's sad that, that Russia isn't the country that's been the most egregiously abusing people's civil rights and civil liberties in the last half decade. It's the United States of America.
Now, I'm going to say this. Everybody come over to Locals. The link to Rumble is there. I'll give you the link to Locals as well. And let's see that we're at 7,200 people live on YouTube. Let's get them all over to Rumble. What are we at on Rumble? We're at 20,500. So let's make that number go down on YouTube. And while it goes down, before I lose them all, I'll just read the remaining super chats. Off topic, but will Derek Chauvin get a mistrial? No, right, Robert?
The Minnesota Supreme Court should set aside the verdict because they can do so without consequence given his federal plea deal anyway. And it's the right thing based on the arguments we articulated, but I don't know if they have the political courage to do it.
We got Navalny might indeed have believed he would be the next president of Russia. After all, look at Zelensky.
Yeah.
He likes to listen to AC/DC. Did everyone buy the new golden Trump sneakers? $400 a pair. Dude, I might want to. I could justify that as a business expense. Remember, Wade sent a message to Bradley. They were thinking about reminding him about privilege. My guess, it was the woman name. Oh, no question about that. All right, we'll get to that in a second. Okay, and that's it. So now we are under 7,000. So come on over, people, when you watch this. The link is in the pinned comment. We're ending on YouTube because Rumble deserves our feet, eyes, and dollars.